number 13-09 ahead, so we need 2/3. A recorded vote has been called by Councillor Neal.
Your Worship, this could be a long one, and I'm looking at the clock and I'm wondering whether prior to, if it's successful, that we have a break before we get into it, because we're going to break it at 8:30.
Yeah, you know what, I will take that as a motion to, once we deal with this, I'll come to you. We'll take a 10-minute break after that. So, Councillor Chapman, you have the floor. Report AG 13-09.
Yes, I have a motion, Your Worship, and if I could ask the clerk to pass it out. I've got one thing.
I think it's meant to ask the mayor to give you, but don't count the time in reading the motion.
Your seconder is?
Councillor Dunn. This is a replacement for the recommendations on the report. And if I could have a little leave for Your Worship, because it is quite a lengthy motion.
For the members of the audience, if you'd like to read it.
I will. Whereas the city's Auditor General has made serious allegations about both individual employees and city departments in Report AG 1309, and whereas these concerns include issues from 2007 to 2013, and whereas it is critical that these allegations be immediately investigated, be it resolved that a full investigation be undertaken by an independent expert authority with the direction that a comprehensive report be prepared clearly outlining the findings, conclusions, and any recommended actions judged necessary in the best interest of the corporation and the citizens of Oshawa, and that the inquiry report be presented as soon as possible in an open session of council, subject to applicable laws, thereby enabling full public disclosure of findings and recommended actions, and that in view of his recognition as one of the top authorities in municipal law in Canada, his direct experience as a municipal solicitor, as well as his role as an integrity commissioner, Mr. George Rusty be appointed to undertake this investigation, and that for the purposes of the investigation so authorized by council, Mr. Rusty shall have the powers and duties of an integrity commissioner as set out in sections 223.3 and 223.5 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, with respect to the subject matter of his investigation, including the conduct of employees and officers of the city, and that Mr. Rusty be provided with absolute cooperation from all staff, including all information public or confidential, relative to the allegations or other matters as he deems necessary to complete his inquiry, and that all documents, files, correspondence, voice messages, and other records potentially related to this inquiry be preserved, and that the cost of the inquiry be charged to the appropriate account as determined by the Director of Finance, Acting Treasurer, and that Mr. Rusty commence immediately and present a status report on his investigation to City Council no later than the Council meeting of June 25th, 2013, and that the Minister of Municipal Affairs and other authorities, as Mr. Rusty deems appropriate, be advised that this investigation has been committed to and authorized by the Council of the City of Oshawa. And I've included with that, there's a CV on Mr. Rusty that you'll see that he is quite an expert in this field. He is available to do this. Just to speak to the motion, we've heard from many people, both in face and in message, about getting to the bottom of this and having a full investigation. And I think that a full investigation includes an outside independent expert. And if we wait to have a judicial inquiry or judicial commission appointed by the Minister of Municipal Affairs, that appointment may take a long time and the cost may be quite prohibitive, because the Minister of Municipal Affairs won't pay for that. The City of Oshawa will be responsible. When allegations come forward, and these are serious, these are two senior members of our staff that both report to council. So council has the obligation to determine what happened, what is right, what is wrong, what actions, if any, needed to be taken. In order to make those decisions, we need facts, and we need them found by somebody who's an expert in finding this type of stuff. Of course, from my past background, investigations into allegations of such serious nature of misconduct are not conducted, and I know people will say, oh yeah, they're conducted by the police against police, but those making the allegations and those part of the allegations do not have a part or anybody else that's involved with that. It's a separate unit, or it goes to the province to look after. And in that vein, I am recommending that we have an independent expert, Mr. George Rusty, to take this investigation, to look at all the facts, come back to us by the meeting in June, report to us in an open fashion, and that's based on applicable laws, because we know there are laws of confidentiality that may be required under certain acts. He report to us with findings, conclusions, recommendations that this council can decide as a move forward position. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Neal.
What has Mr. Rusty done? And I want everything in regards to the city of Oshawa. Years of dealing with issues that have that he's been hired for, I guess, and anything that has had anything to do with any aspect of the city at all. Can anyone answer this?
Mr. Potts, is it possible for you to answer that question?
I can't speak to specific details of every single engagement that the city of Oshawa has had with Mr. Rusty, but I can make some general comments about Mr. Rusty within the municipal legal industry.
No, I'm not asking for that. I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm just asking, what has Mr. Rusty, Mr. Potts, with all due respect, if I ask for a legal opinion, I'll ask for it. What has Mr. Rusty done for the city of Oshawa? That's my question.
He, a few years ago, I think this was on a previous term of council, was engaged by council in relation to a matter that went to the Ontario Court of Appeal and was successful.
What matter? No, I'm not asking what was successful or not. I'm just asking what Mr. Rusty has done. Okay, matter Court of Appeal about what?
A few years ago, I think this was on a previous term of council, was engaged by council in relation to a matter that went to the Ontario Court of Appeal and was successful.
What matter? No, I'm not asking what was successful or not. I'm just asking what Mr. Rusty has done. Okay, matter Court of Appeal about what?
It related to a challenge to the legality of an Oshawa municipal bylaw related to adult entertainment establishments.
Oh, that was years ago. No, I mean, that was a long time ago, and that was not a big issue. I'm talking about major issues. This is a major issue.
Your Worship, if I may, I'm not sure that I can be helpful to council unless I'm able to speak to Mr. Rusty's experience to the extent of my knowledge, and that may or may not be helpful to council. So I would ask what council's wishes are.
In regards to anything to do with employees, anything to do with councillors, so on and so forth. Anything of this nature.
In relation to Oshawa?
Yes.
I can say, and I would have to research if it's necessary to get every specific single engagement that Mr. Rusty has had with the city of Oshawa, but he has been retained on several occasions historically to assist Oshawa Council.
Well, that bothers me. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
We should have an open and independent investigation. Anybody that comes in this city that's tied to any councillor or any councillor that has talked to Mr. Rusty over the phone to get his view on this should come forward now and just discuss it with us so we can do a vote on somebody that is independent of council. That's what I'm asking. And I don't see it here.
So is that you, are you finished speaking to this
No.
motion, or?
No, I'm not. I'm asking for somebody to come forward with an expert authority that has no ties to the city in regards to personnel relations or any kind of previous dealings at all.
Okay, is that your question?
Well, I'll throw it back to Mr. Potts.
Well, if you've been here since, I believe, 2000, if you know of something, Councillor Neal, I haven't been here only since 2006. If you're alluding to something, please.
No, I'll just bring it, I'll take it back to Mr. Potts.
Mr. Potts, when was the last time, if this gentleman did do work for the city, did you recollect?
Your Worship, it has been a number of years because he is a senior member of the bar who has been less engaged in the day-to-day work for municipal clients, but he is, I have actually, and again, it's difficult to answer the question without speaking to some of the things I know about Mr. Rustai's experience. If I may, he's a very, very well-respected
Yeah, I know.
municipal lawyer whose
See,
text
Mr.
is
Mayor,
open
I've
on the
read
desk in
that.
front of me.
I've read that, but I'm afraid about the independent expert part.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Potts, for clarification for members of council, could you speak to the history of this gentleman, please?
First of all, with respect to the motion, I've seen the reference to Mr. Rustai in this motion for as long as it's been distributed. I had no idea that Mr. Rustai was being proposed for this role or that this role was being proposed for council. Having said that, I will say that in the municipal legal industry, and as it concerns Mr. Rustai and his experience and being called on by
Please continue.
municipalities, for example, like Toronto and other municipalities, he's probably the most respected municipal lawyer that I know.
Point of order. I didn't ask for that.
No, excuse me, I did. So please
But-
continue, Mr.
So
Like
it's
I
not
thought I
like-
had the floor.
I'm asking for clarification of his CVA.
Mr. Rustai would not be impartial.
Mr. Neal, Councillor Neal, let Mr. Potts finish, please.
Your Worship, I certainly don't want to be misunderstood as advocating for or against Mr. Rustai. I've been asked a question about what I know of Mr. Rustai's experience, and it's important that I answer the question. And I have a great deal of respect for Mr. Rustai and his experience and his legal skill.
Where's erring on the side of caution here?
Can we not, through you, Mr. Mayor, can we not ask municipal affairs to advise us as to who we should get?